I can't count how many times I've gotten emails asking me what are my options when I want a transforming, robotic Weird Al Yankovic toy. I can't count because I haven't gotten any to count, but if I did, my answer would be the animated Wreck-Gar, which of course he did the voice of in the cartoon. This one's a bit different. So, let's get a good look at the vehicle mode. I'm going to try and get this one quick because he's a little bit flat featured as far as toys go, but he's got some interesting things going on. For instance, he's a garbage truck. Now, of course, this is kind of an homage to all things Wreck-Gar from G1, because not only was he called a Junkion, he was from the planet Junk, and he really liked his garbage. But, of course, this is far from being a motorcycle that we traditionally know Wreck-Gar as. This was a complete departure for the character. But, different origins, different vehicles, it works. And it gives him a very unique look because, it was only recently that another garbage truck transformer became a thing. It's kind of weird, but it's a vehicle that does not come around often, and it kind of works for a new take on Wreck-Gar. As you can see, molded in orange and a little bit of red to give a little bit of his original colors, as well as some gray, which is all over the rear section, little bit metallic, not terribly much, and a little bit more tan just so you can get a little bit of variety in the color scheme. And of course, black as well. I hardly even mention when black is in the colors because it shows up so often. But yeah, that's how it goes. Animated, very simple. As opposed to the last review of Cyclonus, you'll notice very little in the way of surface molding on here. A lot of flat area, a lot of just bare detail, just whatever simplifies it. This is where the cartoon aesthetic of animated really gets pushed, keeping things nice and simple. But that's not to mean the detail is light. As you can see, the rear has all of its lights and everything painted on in red. In the front, all of the windows are done up in black. You can see the headlights through the grille, or through the brush guard, I should say, and the grille itself is also painted, as well as the turn signals down there. And even on the side of the truck, whether this is completely unnecessary, has been painted up in gray in between those molding lines, which gives it a little bit more of a layered look and makes it a little bit more visually dynamic, so it's not just a flat gray box. In that case, it does very nice, creating something a little bit unique. Now, that said, it is just a garbage truck, so it's not the most compelling of vehicles. He does roll. Of course, with 6 wheels, he better roll. And for a little bit of action feature, the forks here, with no, I have no dumpster to attach them to, but they do raise up, so you can see a lot more of the truck mode. You can see the Autobot emblem painted on right there, tamper-graphed, only on one side. You can actually lift these up if you want, and bring them back down. You'll also notice little switches here, which will actually cause the forks to raise up and extend forward a little bit in a more natural movement, which is kind of neat. If you actually look, you can see a little bit of a pistoning action in there, but it's kind of hard for me to get it with my light. Yeah, there you go. Just a little bit of layered gimmick for you. I do like that the gimmick is completely separate. That does keep it from interfering with anything else. That said, there are a few quirks to this vehicle that we are going to have to address at some point. And to do that, we need to get this guy into robot mode. So let's go ahead and do that and see what makes this toy so different from most other animated figures. Got to get a lot of this separated out as it all kind of pegs together here in the front. Come on. And with that, so yeah, 80% of that vehicle is a shell. That's a little bit unfortunate and kind of uncharacteristic for animated, because they're known for just using up the space and the bulk of a transformer very well to create the robot. Now, you will tell me, well, that's cartoon accurate. Of course, he's got a big backpack. That's what he does. He's Wreck-Gar. He's got that big sack, or that big box full of junk that he keeps on his back. Well, that's because they designed the toy first to have that. You know, if the toy was designed elsewhere or in any other way, the toy would reflect that. Or the cartoon would reflect that, and that would be accurate. So I always kind of balk at those kind of defenses when it comes to this. No, the toy was designed to do this, so that's how it ended up. It does peg, or rather clip, very securely. So at the very least, that backpack ain't going anywhere. And the end result, surprisingly enough, is fairly stable. So you can actually enjoy Wreck-Gar's full robot mode unhindered. And I'm actually going to raise this up a little bit, just to make sure that you don't have like a downward angle. In the robot mode, you can get a little bit more Wreck-Gar out of him. One thing I do give Shellformers, they do a lot of changing visually from one mode to another. We definitely do not have a repeat of Cyclonus, and you do have something of a unique looking robot as a result. So, as always, we will give a close-up of the head first. Very Wreck-Gar, but you can also get a few more elements out of it. For instance, TV head. This is again a reference to the G1 Wreck-Gar without actually forcing the G1 Wreck-Gar character into it. He does have the goatee going on, so that's very Wreck-Gar. And you can definitely see in the face where the G1 elements are. TV head, rather than talking TV, I think is another clever little touch. I kind of like that. And that's kind of give me more of a junkyard robot vibe that he's actually built from some spare parts or anything. At least it gives that look. It kind of is appropriate for the garbage truck vehicle mode. As you can see, he is quite a bulky sucker. He's very large, too. Of course, Voyagers back then pretty much were large, so that's a good thing. He does get a little bit weird in proportions. As you can see, in order to balance his backpack, his legs do hinge back quite a bit, just to make sure they're under the center of gravity. You can adjust it for actual like posing and such, but that does alter his balance and keeps him from standing up. So he's one of those figures you pose in your hands as you play with him. Just make sure you get him into a more stable pose when you let go. For design-wise, I do like how he looks. There's a lot more of the orange. Whoa! Stay up. Stay up. Cooperate with me. I'm about to praise you. A lot more orange going on. I do like how that looks. A little bit more red, just a little bit. And the silver and black work very nicely. Not a whole lot of new painted detail. We got a little bit of silver on what look like giant screw heads, as well as a little bit of orange on the forearm to break up the gray. A little bit of black here. Not too much. He looks good. I like the look of the toy. It's just like, he's just like super heavy on the backpack, which kind of detracts from a lot of the function of the figure. For articulation, we do have a full rotation on the head, no upward and downward or anything. Shoulders are properly universal. Always nice to see. The bicep rotation is in there. Kind of 90 degree at the elbow. Not too much. The fingers bend in and out, which is kind of interesting because he has no weapon that requires them to bend at all. So that's nice. All that accordioning to get that backpack on kills any kind of waste. He does have universal hip movement, which actually is helped out by the little panels on his pelvis, so those don't get hindered. Thigh rotation, very nice. Very good knee, actually a little bit beyond 90 degrees. Nothing at the ankle, though. A little bit slanted, just so you can have a little bit more of a natural stance to him. So he does work out pretty well in the articulation department. That said, he does have heel spurs that you really hope are tight because, yeah, they're not even going to work here to demonstrate some kind of action pose. Like I said, he is the type of toy that don't count on the pose staying. Pose him in your hands. Pose him as you are playing with him. But make sure he is back to a neutral stance before you leave him alone for too long, unless you want to see him domino everyone else on your table, on your shelf, wherever you happen to keep the figure. So, what else can he do? Well, they've got this huge backpack. It's got to do something other than hide all the robot bits in vehicle mode, right? Indeed there is. you can see this giant switch with an up arrow pointed on, and when we flick this upward, you get a little bit of that junkyard approach. That little thing he did in the show where he started pulling junk out of his backpack. I do like that they integrated a little bit of that in to hide his actual weaponry. So if we can get these out, they clip in. So they're nice and snug. They're not going to like launch out. That faces backwards in vehicle mode, by the way. So there's really not a whole lot of point ejecting them in that mode. Let's give a little quick look at these. You can see they are single translucent pieces, which, yeah, it's a little bit, yeah, translucent, but hey, it's one piece. It's not holding any kind of friction or any kind of, any kind of stress of any kind. So it works out. You know, this is proper usage of it. A little bit of silver, a little bit of orange, just to make sure it matches in and looks like his energy weapons. So we can fold out a peg that will fit into the upper tire here on the forearm. Excuse me as I'm trying to get this pegged in without it accidentally folding back in, which is a little bit weird sometimes, especially if the hinge is a little bit loose. There we go, just like that. And that gives Wreck-Gar his energy scissor weapons that he had in the cartoon. It's a little bit unpronounced, I'm afraid. His forearms are so big they come across as like tiny little shields, and I think the plastic needed to be a little bit darker than it is. Maybe just like completely opaque blue plastic. Because while it does give that energy blade look, they don't go very far beyond his fists. They end up looking more like defensive things than like actual offensive weaponry, which is a bit of a downside, but it's nothing game-breaking or anything. I do like how they hide away, and I do like that they had the forethought of where they were going to peg in, because it'd be real easy to peg something in like this and then like accidentally leave it on that like free spinning wheel thing. Instead, it's engineered so that the wheel can spin in vehicle mode without actually making the blade look ridiculous in robot mode. So that's all well and good. And if we want just a little bit something, they are molded as such so that they can combine together, which gives a much bigger shield if you want it to be that. Or if we rotate the whole thing around, now he's got more reach on the energy blade. Now it looks a little bit more significant. So that's actually a neat trick. I'm actually a fan of that. So good on you, Wreck-Gar. Your weapons hide away very nicely, and they have multiple purposes. So that's always good. So overall, what do we think of Wreck-Gar here? Well, he is definitely one of the shell-formiest of shell-formers, as most of his vehicle is carried around on his back. That does allow his robot mode to look quite nice. We like that. His articulation is good, but his balance is bad. So he is something of a mixed bag as figures go. I do think the positive outweighs the negatives. I do think it's a worthwhile pickup. It's just not going to be the most thrilling transformation for you if that's what you are into Transformers for. But he does carry a lot of charm to him. He's got a lot of personality in his sculpt, as much of Animated does. And I think it works for what it is. He's definitely different as far as animated toys go. But then again, it's Weird Al Yankovic. If it wasn't different, it wouldn't be weird.